All right, Mike, thanks. Go ahead.
All right, being 4:30, we'll call the Board of Public Works meeting to order. Is there any changes to the agenda?
There is not.
All right, then I'll call for a motion
Move to approve
adopt
the agenda.
Second.
As printed.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the agenda. Any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Public input. Anything public input that's not on the agenda? All right, next item up is wastewater treatment plant, Mr. Ben.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Not too much on my agenda. So Lane started about 3 weeks ago today, and he's doing really well. He's catching on to all the stuff that we do. Hopefully by the end of the month, he will be able to do laboratory all by himself. Let's see. I sent in the mercury reduction minimization program notes to the DNR. If I don't hear back from them in 90 days, that means that they have probably accepted what the city has done so far. So hopefully I don't hear from them for a while. Let's see. We installed the new wiping system for the 18-year-old UV system. Looks like it went smoothly. We did test one bank today after we put new sleeves on them, and it's working really well. So hopefully we can get another 15 years out of that system. As far as Donahue and Corcoran go, for the digester upgrade, they're still working on a schedule for April and May to see when they're going to come in with a crane and pull those covers off and recoat the interiors. When I know more, I'll let you know. Let's see. That's about it. We did have a 50 horsepower motor go down. We're going to be sending that in to get fixed. I think it's just a bearing, but it is 21 years old, so who knows what's going on with it. And then hopefully this week, if we don't get too much rain the next couple of days, we're going to start spreading sludge. That's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions?
Did you want me to stick around for this other
How
thing?
much,
Yeah, if you want.
how much is that new motor?
A new 50 horse motor, I haven't had it priced out yet. Basically that system's very redundant, so we can be down for a while on that blower. So we've got two other ones that are running right now.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's not going to be more than 15,000 if we have to replace it, but I'll get a bid and then get it to you guys for approval.
All right, 4:33. We'll call the public hearing.
Cool. So I will grab on that one. For anybody here, we're going to do a public hearing and then also informational session on the Warner Allen Boulevard Reconstruction project. If anybody's here specifically for that project, like residents on the road, there is a engineer's report that I printed off. Feel free to grab one of those as we kind of go through that. That'll kind of help, some of the talking points that we go through. But give me a second here. I'm going to, first of all, introduce ourselves after I get this screen sharing going. So I'm Chad Hurth. I'm the Director of Public Services and the City Administrator right now with the City of New London. I also have with me Brad Warner. He's up on the screen right now. So Brad Warner is our engineer with McMahon Services and the ones that helped us engineer and design the Warner Allen project. So Brad's going to help me and just answer the questions that I can't answer, and we'll kind of go back and forth. But Brad, I'm going to share my screen and I created a PowerPoint.
Oh, great.
To get this going.
Hey, are you getting any feedback from me today? Because supposedly they fixed my computer. Let me know if.
Yep, I did get that. So screen share. All right. So Brad, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yep, I can see the PowerPoint.
Beautiful. All right, so we'll kind of go over the project real quick. Can everybody hear me in the back with the speaker? Okay. So Warner Allen Boulevard Reconstruction project. This is one of our projects for this year. We're also doing a one section block on Shawano Street, but that's doesn't have any assessments to it, so we don't really have to go through an assessment project with that compared to the Warner Allen Boulevard reconstruction project. So again, introductions. Again, I'm Chad, and we got Brad Warner from our engineering firm, McMahon Associates. So a little talk about what the project's going to be all about. The Warner Allen project, we're going to be starting with some spot repairs of the sanitary sewer and storm sewer system from Wolf River Avenue to Jennings Street. We're not going beyond Jennings Street to the south. During this project, one of the things we're going to do is define a single lane street. Warner Allen is wide enough that many people think it's a double lane street, but for legal purposes, you need that white dotted line in the street to designate being a two-way street. So it gets kind of confusing when cars are parked in the street and people think it's a two-way street. So we're going to define it finally as a single lane street just with marking paint. Brad's got addition of defined turn lanes at some of the main intersections. So Wolf River Avenue, Washington Street, and Jennings, we're going to have some defined turn lanes just because those are major turning intersections where people are turning to the schools or on Wolf River Avenue. So we're going to get some better turn lanes in there. Spot repair of curb and gutter. It's not going to be a complete curb and gutter replacement. We're just going to do spot curb and gutter as needed. We're going to be putting addition of a mountable curb or a gutter system in the center terrace. Right now, if you can visualize it, the asphalt goes to basically grass in the center of the road. So we're actually going to put a defined curb, mountable curb system there just to define where the center is and keep the turf away from the road there. The entire road of Warner Allen within the project zone will be resurfaced in asphalt. So it's not just spot repair of asphalt. We're going to get a brand new surface street on that road, which is going to be really nice. We are going to be talking about replacement of non-compliant sanitary sewer laterals. So I'm sure that's why some of the people are here today. We're going to be talking about what that's all about. And as of this point in time, we don't have any plans for any water service laterals, but we'll talk about that as well. Project timeline, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have a defined start date yet, but the plan is to have the reconstruction started and completed when school is out for the summer. I don't know if we have any defined start dates quite as of yet.
Nope, I haven't heard anything yet, but you're right. The window is when summer, during summer when school's not in session.
Great. Project detours and access to properties, obviously very important for the residents that live on Warner Avenue. So the contractor is going to be responsible for creating a traffic control plan. The contractor, per the contract, needs to maintain emergency vehicle access at all times. So there's not going to be a problem with an ambulance, not getting through. They need to have that available. During construction, reasonable vehicle and pedestrian access shall be provided for resident driveways during the construction and at the end of the workday. They need to be working with the residents there to provide as much access to the driveways as possible. However, there's going to be times where they're going to need to be working in those driveway locations, or there might be situations where if we have to replace concrete, there's going to have to be a cure time. So we can't be driving on wet concrete. So the contractor shall be notifying affected property owners of access interruption at least 24 hours in advance per the contract. So they should be communicating on those times and dates where there would be some interruption getting to the driveways. Let's talk about assessments a little bit. The city of New London currently does not assess for sidewalk, asphalt road, curb and gutter, sanitary sewer main, water main, or storm sewer main. Many other communities do, but New London does not right now. So the assessment, we are going to be assessing for the sanitary laterals, but you can see there's many other things that the city currently does not assess for that other communities may. So let's talk about those sewer laterals a little bit. During the project updates, we are going to be doing spot repair to the sanitary sewer system. So we're going to be updating the sewer system as needed. And then per one of our city ordinances, all laterals that are connecting to a new and updated main must be compliant with current building code, or it must be replaced. We'll be televising all sanitary sewer laterals with the project and then evaluating their condition for compliance. And I'll talk about a little bit more about what's not compliant. But another point, shared sewer laterals. I don't think there's anything on this project, Ben. I don't think there was that we've identified. But one thing that we do remove is any shared sewer lateral. So if there was, back in the day, they had two properties next to each other and they brought it together on the private side and ran it to the road as a single shared sewer lateral, we get away from those just because if one person's got a problem, that might, it causes a lot of headaches. So, but I don't think we have any shared sewer laterals in this situation. So I think we're good there. But why are we looking at replacements of the sanitary sewer main and the laterals? These are television pictures and televising of several sanitary sewer laterals in New London today. We have quite a bit of clay tile, or there are situations where the laterals might be broken. And clay tile was used back in the day quite a bit, but it's not a sealed system. So it does allow moisture and, you know, the sanitary sewage to seep out into there, and tree roots love that. So, I mean, obviously there's been problem with tree roots infiltrating those sanitary sewer laterals. So these are all pictures of that. Another point is the clay tiles, the old ones do get brittle and they can break. So this is a situation where we have a lateral that is broken. It's not a sealed system. The DNR is on municipalities to try to seal up their sanitary sewer system. So we reduce what's called I&I, infiltration and inflow. Number one, they don't want the sanitary sewer materials getting out of the system. And number two, they don't want to see us maintaining and trying to treat clean water. Then when we have our normal flows, we're what, 750,000 to 1 million gallons a day?
Yeah.
And when we
roughly
have a high water table and a lot of water, we're getting up to
4 million we've reached.
4 million gallons a day. So having a system that's not sealed does give us a lot of infiltration of groundwater, and the DNR doesn't want that. We obviously have to, you know, have bigger system, more pumps and everything running, just because we got to treat all that additional flow, which is not necessary. So these are all points of, you know, why we need to be over time sealing our sanitary sewer system. But again, a lot of different tree roots problems that we get called up on when people have problems. So again, these are reasons why we want to maintain and want to make sure our system is secure. Excuse me. So when we talk about our sanitary sewer lateral, and this is the lateral from the house or from the building all the way to the sanitary sewer main in the middle of the road. We have two different segments of your sanitary sewer lateral we'll talk about. The first segment is the segment in the street or the right of way. You know, we are going to be changing out all non-compliant laterals in the right of way. That's part of this project. And that's part of what the assessment part is any of the laterals that we're changing in the right of way. We do assess that property to the property owners because that's part of your private lateral. We don't want to charge for the main. We don't want to charge for curb and gutter. We don't charge for sanitary or we don't charge for sidewalk, but we do charge you for that lateral, that full length of lateral that's servicing your property. Then the second segment that we have that we'll talk about is the sanitary lateral on the private side. And I've got a picture of this later on to kind of give you a visual. And that also needs to be compliant with current building codes. But if the private side of that is compliant, say, for example, at one point in time, someone had to change it out and change it to be PVC, and it's fully sealed and it's not leaking, there's no need to replace that. But if it is non-compliant, if it's clay tile, if it's cracked, if it's unsealed, then per our ordinance, we do, since we're doing this project at this point in time, we do have to make sure it's sealed all the way to the house. Now, property owners have a couple different choices when they're thinking about making sure that the lateral in segment 2, which is from the property line to the house, they have their choice how they want to update that non-compliant lateral. Number one, they could hire their own contractor or plumber to do that section. Or number two, they can jump on the city's contract and replace that along with the city's contractor who's doing all this work. If you do jump on the city's contract and have the city's contractor replace the lateral, that's segment number 2 from the property line to the house, that cost plus the cost for in the right of way, in the roadway that we're working on, can be charged and will be assessed to you to pay up front. Or, and we'll talk about this as a little bit with the board, we're proposing, again, like we did with the Division Street project, to allow property owners to pay it as an assessment charge over 10 years at 1% interest. This group up front needs to determine that yet tonight, but that's what we're proposing to do, the same thing we did on Division Street. If you plan on hiring someone else to replace the lateral, you don't go on the city's contract. Be aware that you'll need to be getting somebody in right of way to replace that section. Because once we change out the right of way, we require you to replace the segment that's on your own private property right of way. We can't wait a year or two. You gotta get that replaced right away. So remember that you won't be able to use your toilets until you get your private contractor in to do that work. But again, if you have the city's contractor do it, they'll do it in one shot. They can charge it as a full assessment, the entire thing. If you do get your private side done by your own private contractor, you cannot put that charge on the assessment bill. That's your contract. You gotta work on something else with your contractor regarding that. So like I said, we have engineer's report that's in the back. We have good bid prices from the contractor because we bid out the project already. So we have a good idea what it's gonna be for this project. And if you have that engineer's report already, on page 4 starts about the definitions of the right-of-way laterals versus the private side laterals, like I talked about segment 1 and segment 2. So here's a map, kind of gives you a visual what segment 1 and segment 2 talks about. Again, we've got the roadway, which is in gray, the sanitary main going along with the street in black, and then we have a lateral that's indicated from the house to the main. Again, segment 1 is in the right-of-way. We do an assessment process for that. That's from the property line, which is typically on the inside of the sidewalk, to the main. That's the right-of-way assessment. Then again, it's your choice, it's your option in the private side from the right-of-way to the house, whether you want to jump on the city's contract or have your own contractor come in. Maybe you've got a brother-in-law or somebody who is a contractor and they would do it for free. You know, that'd be an option for you. So on page 6 of the engineer's report, we have indicated costs for what it's going to be for work in the right-of-way. That's segment number 1 only on page 6. Excuse me. So what we've indicated here is shown what it would be for an open cut or trenching situation from the main to the property line if we trenched it. And what we've did was Brad has figured out what it would cost for all 9 properties along that street, all the residents. That would come up to a total estimate cost right now of about $22,000. And what we do is we just divide that out by the 9 properties. Now, this cost right here is on the high end. When we do an assessment cost like this, we have to give the worst case scenario because we cannot charge more than this. So we're hoping this cost is high and this cost in the end comes down, but we need to give the worst case scenario with the stuff in the right of way. And on the flip end of this, if something happens that we didn't figure out and this assessment cost actually ends up being about $3,000 a household, we can't charge more than $2,448.09 because that's what we displayed. That's what we said the highest part is going to be in the right of way. So we usually make sure that this is high right off the bat, just to make sure that we've got ourselves covered. The second half on the following page on the engineer's report talks about the private lateral side. Now, in this situation, we've given you an example of a pipe bursting situation. I'll talk about what pipe bursting is in a little bit. But in this situation, we've talked about if it's a 40-foot run from the property line to the house, we know it's going to be about $5 a linear foot for the pipe. And then for a pipe bursting situation, open and close the floor, it's a upfront one-time cost of $3,200. So the private side, if you jump on the city's contract, would be about $3,400. Now, this side of the equation, whatever the cost is to do that segment, that's what the homeowners would be assessed. It's not an estimate. I mean, whatever the true value of the cost is that's what's going to be assessed. And we have all that in the bid specs already, so we know those costs right up front. So let's talk about the different type of sanitary sewer lateral installations. We've got open cut or trench cut versus trenchless. Open cut is basically you're cutting a trench, you lay down the pipe, Unfortunately, with a trench cut, you need to clear out anything in the way to allow you to run the trench. You could lose trees or shrubs or any type of landscaping that's in the way of the trench because the machine will cut out the roots. And Brad, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's get Brad back on here. I don't know where he went.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and I was going to ask you about this one. In the Division Street contract, the contractor was responsible for filling in a trench. However, the homeowner was responsible for final grading and seeding. I can't remember in this contract. Is that the same?
Same
here?
way.
Okay,
Same way.
here.
Yep. Yeah. If it would be an open trench situation, right, the homeowner would be responsible for the turf restoration. It'd be all prepped and leveled and ready, and then they could top dress it with topsoil and plant it as they wanted.
Okay, good. The second type of installation is a pipe bursting installation, which is easier and can be a cheaper installation. And basically it's pulling a new pipe through the old one. No lawn restoration is needed. However, to do this, they got to cut a hole in the basement and pull in a new pipe. So obviously this is a picture of a trench, open cut situation, and look how messy it is. And like I said, if there's anything in the way, they've got to open it wide up. Pipe bursting, I've got a video here actually. And we'll show you what a pipe bursting installation would look like. So in a pipe bursting situation, what they're going to do is they're going to come into your basement and cut a hole in that basement and find the existing sanitary lateral that's in your basement. So pretend this is a basement. They probably have to cut a floor down in the basement because your lateral is going to be in the basement. But what they do is they got a machine that they're going to run either a cable or a solid pipe or a line through the existing sanitary lateral. So we'll let this continue here as it's.
Hey, Chad.
And once they get into the street, what they're going to do is they're going to attach a special head and then attach pipes, the new pipe to that head. And then that machine is going to pull back the pipe pull back the system through the old pipe, basically bursting it as it's going through and pulling the new pipe right through the old pipe.
Hey, Chad.
In a nutshell, that's a pipe bursting situation. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so just from the way that the guys do it, the machine itself will be in the trench in the street,
Okay,
and
so
the pipe bursting head starts in the basement. So what they usually do is if there's like a little basement window or something like that, they'll open that window up. They fuse all that pipe together outside first, and then they pull it through the basement window and then to the hole, and then they pull it, with the cable back. So really the only mess in your basement is when they wet saw about a 3x3 hole in the floor, and then they hand dig out and load it up in 5-gallon pails, the dirt, and carry it out, out of your house, and then patch up the concrete when they're all done. So yeah, there other than that saw down there really isn't a whole lot of equipment that they need in the basement. So
Cool. I think in the Division Street project, it was like how I had it on here, though. Did
oh
they
really?
No, they pulled it, the way he said. They
Pulled
had
it from
pipe
the
out
house.
through the window, and then they pulled the pipe out into the street.
Okay,
No
So-
mess at all.
no mess. Bob
Right.
had it
All
on.
that done, you gotta have it, do the pipe bursting. There's no mess, nothing.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat process for the most part.
Chad?
Yeah.
Don't have a basement window.
Brad, what happens if they don't have a basement window?
So if they don't have a basement window, sometimes if there's a staircase or something like that, they can bring it down a staircase. It depends on the angles and so forth. Otherwise, if there's really no way to access from the basement, then typically, a lot of times we'll dig right at the foundation of the home and then pull to that point. But it's a lot neater and cleaner if we can do it find a way to do it in the basement. They could also, fuse some of that pipe together. It just takes longer if they have to fuse every length of pipe, in 20-foot lengths to sometimes, or even 10-foot lengths, depending on how much room you have down there. Prefer not to fuse it in your basement, but I know in some instances they could do that as well.
Chad, that'll only work on clay type pipes, right?
Yes.
That's what I had was clay tile. It pulls it right through it.
Pulls it right through it. Yeah, it can pull through cast iron. It can pull through concrete, ABS truss. Probably the only one that's a little difficult sometimes is ductile, because ductile iron's a little bit more flexible. Cast iron will tend to just pop and break and get right out of the way. So.
Cool. All right, so that's an example of pipe bursting. It's just going through the old pipe, so there's no mess in the landscaping or anything like that. And again, here's just another picture of what it looks like with pipe bursting, with the head bursting up the pipes, the old one as it's going through. So we'll determine obviously the best course of action for each particular situations, because not one situation is going to work for everything, but we'll look up that situation, and then we'll kind of anticipate the best course of action and the cheapest course of action for you. And like I said, the cheapest so far has been the trenchless method and less meths. So if anyone's interested in jumping on the city's contract for replacing the lateral from the property line to the house, on the last page of the engineer's report is an assessment waiver. Basically, what you want to do is that assessment waiver has to be filled out, and that's basically authorizing the city's contractor not to just do it at the property line, but you're authorizing it to the contractor to run all the way to the house, and then we would assess the property owner for the entire project. Once the project is complete, we'll send out a bill for the new lateral. And again, we're going to propose that we have the option to pay it. You have the option to pay it all at once or spread it out for up to 10 years at 1% interest for the project. Water laterals, Mike Pinch, if you want to just confirm, when I talked to Jason today, New London Utilities will be taking care of the water lateral replacement, but as of this time, they've identified that they don't think there's any service laterals that need to be replaced. Obviously, once you start digging up and you find something, we don't know what's exactly underground, but Mike Pinch, you want to confirm that you don't have anything for the water side right now?
Yeah, as far as we know, all services are 3/4 inch copper to the residents. If you are gonna pipe burst sewer, we can actually pull the water in at the same time and put a new service in for the customer if they so choose. So we would definitely want to at least talk to them to see if they would like to do that option at that time, but we're not going to require them to do that option. So because our water services are, in pretty good shape as far as we know, unless we would find something different when we cross them, see, that they're in tough shape or something, and we may change our position. But as you had mentioned, we didn't plan on doing that.
Great, thanks. Also, along with this project, we're going to be installing a mini storm system. And a mini storm system is basically a system to collect storm water and primarily sump pump water along the residence. So for the purpose of this mini storm, we're going to be putting in a pipe in the terrace, which is between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. And this allows the property owners to tap into that, so their sump pump discharge has the capability of going into the city's storm sewer system instead of a sanitary system, or maybe in the backyards. If you're someone who has been pumping in your backyards all the time, it's just a mess, and you want to do something different, this is a great way to do it. Just to point out, it is illegal to discharge sump pump water into the city's sanitary sewer system. We know what happens out there, but this is one way for people to get away from that, because it is illegal to discharge in the sanitary sewer system. We will install the mini storm system, the mini storm lateral. We will install mini storm laterals to the property line, but then the homeowner will be responsible for hiring a contractor, if they so choose, to install the storm lateral to your sump pump discharge location. So again, just another map. You can kind of see that we'll be putting this storm sewer or mini storm within the mini storm pipe. Let me see if I can move this. Where this mini storm is hooked up into, it's hooked up into those catch basins that are in the street that collect storm water. And Brad, we're going to do that. Are we going to do that, or are we going to directly tie into the main on this project?
This one is a mini storm. It's a separate. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then we would install laterals to the property line, and then the homeowner would be responsible for wherever that sump pump discharge would come out. They have the option to hiring a contractor and then hooking up into the storm sewer system that we have right there. Mail delivery, we'll notify the post office of the project once we have the timeline and stuff for the project. But since there aren't any mailboxes on this stretch, I don't anticipate any issues with the mail service. Unlike the Division Street project, we had a lot of mailboxes, so there was a lot of, we had to put mailboxes on side streets and get that all figured out. But at this point in time, I don't feel that there'd be any issues, because I think the post office workers can still just walk to your houses like they normally do. The contractor's still supposed to have some verbiage or communication with the post office, but I really don't think we'll have issues with this project with mail delivery. Garbage and recycling pickup. The contractor is responsible for coordinating refuse collection and mail delivery throughout the project. Most people have Gratian for their garbage, and then the city has the contract with the county regarding the recycling pickup. If the road is accessible, the garbage and recycling truck should make every attempt to come down the road just like they normally do. If there's any concerns or it looks like they won't be able to get to your location, what we did on the Division Street project, which worked out really nice, is we just asked the property owners to take it to the nearest corner and put it on the nearest side street. And then the recycling and the garbage pickup, they just did it on the side street there if there was problems getting around the corner. That worked out really well. But we do ask that everybody puts a piece of duct tape on their garbage can and puts their address on there, because we did have the problems where, okay, where's this garbage can go? Where's this garbage can? You had 5 or 6, 7 of them lined up, and we didn't know where they were going. So definitely put your address on all your cans if you need to do that. Just it helps to where they got to go home if someone's got to get it out of the way. Some of those contractors were actually taking it back to the homeowners real nice, and it was nice for them to know where those cans go. Other than that, that's all I got. Brad, you got anything that I missed and want to?
Oh, I'm going to hire you to do other ones for me. You do such a great job.
I took our Division Street one and mimicked it.
Yeah. No.
So with that said, that is the Warner Allen project in a nutshell. I guess at this point in time, Mike, if you want to ask if there's any public input for our public hearing, now's the time to listen to that, because then we'll start going into the other parts of the project.
I just want to know if with doing the sewer, will that stop the flooding? Will we get, it floods on Warner Allen all the time. Will this take care of that?
Brad's aware of that, and we are going to put different inlets, correct, Brad?
Correct.
In those areas, because the inlets there are kind of small and they plug up. All the debris from the leaves and stuff like that, they plug them up. So we're putting in the bigger inlets. So that should help in that situation.
Are you good? So now, are you gonna be putting in curb and gutter in the median?
In the median is going to be what's called a mountable curb. It's kind of like correct. It's just the little flow line. California curb, multiple curb situation. So
And it's a reject curb, so it won't collect water. It'll shed water to the other, to the outsides of the street like it does right now. So
Are they gonna be adding any height to the road? Or is that gonna be just the way it is now?
Brad, that's a question for you. Are they going to add any height to the road when they're all done?
no, the road should go back pretty much as it is. Yep.
Kind of in the lowest spot of that whole road there,
Yep.
right in the middle, so that's hard.
Yeah, and you need low spots for the water to collect to. So I mean, if you can't raise it up, and you got to have those.
Up in the backyard where it's gonna have to start raising it up out there.
Correct. So the road, because we're not changing the curb and gutter at all. So the curb and gutter will be spot repair. So think of it's got to go the same location, because the height of the curb isn't changing. So the road's got to kind of go back to where it is for the most part.
The mini storm, is that if nobody signs up to have their sump pump go to the mini storm,
Mhm.
or is there a possibility of pulling that out of the project that it's not being used?
We'll talk about that. We definitely want to keep it as an option, because we have a lot of problems with people pumping into the street, which we don't want, because it creates icy conditions, and having that water in the street all the time is a problem. And we don't want people pumping into the sanitary sewer system, because it's illegal, and we want to keep people away from that. But I think if we talk to say for example, we get there and none of the homeowners have basements and sump pumps. Well, then there's a situation where we wouldn't need to put the sanitary sewer or the mini storm in there. But if there's sump pumps in the area, it's a big benefit to have them be able to pump into the city's storm sewer system instead of pumping on the street, pumping into the sanitary sewer system, or pumping in the backyard. So
Hey,
we'll
Chad.
definitely look at that farther.
Hey, Chad?
Yep.
Oh, just since you brought that up, something for the homeowners that are getting their laterals replaced. If you do not have a sump pump and you know, right now you feel you don't have a water problem in your basement, more than likely that's because that water is finding its way into your sanitary sewer. So if your sanitary sewer lateral is now sealed up and you don't have a sump pump, you may find that now you have a clear water problem in your basement. And that's happened before on projects like this, where now that sewer lateral is tight and not letting that clear water in, that, you know, people sometimes have to install a sump pump, and you don't necessarily have to have drain tile to install a sump pump. You can core a hole in the floor and put in a pit, especially if it's in near the location of that, you know, where the sanitary lateral comes in, and then, you know, collect that water and pump it out. So, yeah, like I said, pretty much anywhere in Wisconsin, if you've got a basement, you know, that hole is gonna, you know, somehow groundwater is gonna get there along the sides of your house and so forth. And like I said, right now, if you don't have one, it's probably going into your sanitary sewer, and you'll notice a change.
So does that make sense? I mean, if your sanitary lateral right now has holes in it, it might be collecting that groundwater just automatically. And once we seal that, because we got to have it sealed, that groundwater might not be going into the sanitary sewer system anymore and getting taken away. So now you might see more groundwater in your sump pump area just because it's not going in the sanitary sewer system anymore. It's actually going in your sump pump pit.
And if you look at the city in general, again, common practice many years ago, like I'm going to say, you know, before the early 70s, when the Clean Water Act went into place, there were a lot of combined sewer systems where the intention of the system was collecting both sanitary and stormwater and bringing it, you know, to the wastewater plant. And then when the Clean Water Act was enacted in the early 70s, then they wanted to separate the two. So if you look at the sanitary sewers in the city, you'll see some awful big sanitary sewers that typically you wouldn't see, just to collect municipal waste. And so, you know, that's an indicator that common practice was, yeah, it didn't matter if you gap the pipe, you know, you could use it as a French drain underneath your basement. But now with the new regulations, you know, through EPA and the DNR and so forth, now we have to keep those two separate.
Any other questions?
Well, what you're doing is keeping from treating that sump pump water. Otherwise, you got to treat both the sewer and that water. That's a lot more treatment and expense.
Yep, you're right. And it costs a lot of money to collect it, you know, and then if your sewer system can't handle it, you get basement backups because you've got more in there than just sanitary sewer. And nobody likes a basement backup. Those are, you know, real problems for people if the sewer backs up in their basement.
That's the I&I, Tom. I mean, we've talked about I&I in the past and what we got to do to curb out and reduce the I&I in our system. So,
yeah.
And unfortunately, that area, basically from Wyman all the way to the park, it's all groundwater infested. There's water everywhere down there. So that's one of the bigger areas that we're seeing a lot of this clear water coming from, just from people putting their sump pumps into the sanitary. So we got to stop that while we can. This is a perfect project to do it. So that gives the homeowner an option as opposed to just throwing it on their grass after we're all done. So.
Or into the street, which we don't want to. I mean, especially in the fall, like November, if we have a high water table and people are pumping in the streets, that's when we have the icing problems. You know, we've had calls where the neighbors are pumping into the other neighbor's driveway and it just becomes an ice mess. We've had that situation. And also having that constant water pumping in the streets, you know, that's bad for the base. You don't want a wet base, road base all the time, because that's just, it doesn't help your road system. So getting the water out of that system is just putting it right into the storm sewer system is ideal. So any other questions?
Know that laterals are all going to be replaced with plastic pipe though, right?
Unless they're compliant today, which maybe somebody 10 years ago had to change out to plastic, to PVC, and it's compliant. All the ones that are not compliant per our ordinance, when we do projects like this, they have to bring their sanitary lateral up to compliance.
I can't think of.
And like Ben said, this is just a natural opportunity when you're doing projects like this to kind of bring those facilities up to compliance building codes.
We have no other questions. We'll move on.
So Mike, I would recommend that you close the public hearing then at this point in time.
All right. Do we need a motion to close?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimous. Okay, review and recommend to council a final resolution authorizing sanitary and water utility improvements and levying special assessments against benefit property owners for the Reconstruction project.
Yep. So in your packet, you found a copy of the final resolution. This is required by state law that these are one of these steps that we got to go through, the public hearing, and then your final resolution authorizing the assessment process to affected property owners. One thing again, I'm going to point out just so everybody knows that at number 6, we are proposing once again to allow a 10-year deferral program at 1% interest. So it's not a matter of socking our residents with a big bill. They have an option to pay it off over 10 years at 1% interest. So that's my recommendation for that. So if you guys are cool with that, go ahead and refer this to council as is, or change it to how you want it.
I'll move that we move ahead with it, Mike.
Second. Motion made and seconded to go ahead with the recommendation on this, which would allow you to spread the bill over 10 years at 1% or pay it immediately. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Question, Tom? Yeah. All the land on the west side of the road is owned by the city.
Correct.
Who's paying for that?
There's no laterals on the west side of the city there that we're
Would be
replacing.
no lateral? No, you're just gonna, because you're not replacing the main.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. All right. Motion made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimous. I thought there were 2 laterals at least. The next item I see is review agreement with Dtac LLC for brush disposal services.
Actually, Mike, we're going to go to number 6. We just missed that one.
All right, we got to approve the contract for that. Too small a print for me.
Right. So in your packet, we provided the bid tab for the Warner Allen and the Shawano Street project. Again, Shawano Street is a 1-block project from Beacon to Cook. That's just a quick road reconstruction, road resurfacing in there. We had 3 bids for the project: Northeast Asphalt, MCC, and Advanced Construction. And in the end, Northeast Asphalt had the lowest bid for the project. And you can see on the bid tab, I believe in the bottom, they also showed their subcontractors that they're identifying as well for the project. So for Northeast Asphalt, they got Concrete Jim Fisher, grading is Hilltop Trucking, landscaping Signature Landscapes, utilities would be Woody, epoxy paving would be Century Fence, and then pavement markings, mid-state parking lot maintenance. They haven't defined their traffic or some of the other ones yet. Pipe bursting, did they come to you back yet, Brad, and say who's gonna do the pipe bursting?
Oh, I have not heard who's gonna do the pipe bursting. Typically to Scott Lamer's Construction or M&E Construction. I thought they were talking M&E, but they hadn't solidified that yet.
Yeah, they did Division Street.
Yep,
Lamers
Lamers
did
did Division Street, so.
Yeah, there's two main players in that, so.
So at this point in time, the bids came back very positive compared to what the estimates were. So I'm asking the committee to consider awarding the contracts to Northeast Asphalt at this time.
So moved. Motion made, second. Second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimous. All right, then I guess we can move to number 7.
Hey, Brad, thanks. I don't know if you want to continue to stick around, but if not, we're done with Water and Allen project.
Yeah, I've got a 6 o'clock meeting to get to, so I'll take off. If any questions, just shoot me whatever questions you got and I'll get answers for you.
Cool. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you. Night, everyone.
Okay, review an agreement with Dtac LLC for brush disposal services. Since we cannot no longer do it at the cemetery, we had to come up with a new plan.
So this is basically because the market has changed. There's so much brush out there. We unfortunately can't get rid of it for free anymore. So I talked with Dtac. I mean, Luke in the back is back here too, if you got any questions, but we talked with Dtac to see what we could work out as a deal for getting rid of our brush. And what we came up with right now is that a contract price for $12,000, we would basically drive all our brush over there, drop it off and walk away. So instead of piling it up, bidding out a tub grinder to come in and then go through that whole process, we talked with Dtac about just dropping it off over there. What I've asked Luke, and we've agreed upon that what we'll do this year, just to make sure we're having a good, idea of what this rate is in the end, we would keep track of how much we take over there. So every load, we would keep track of that. So we, keep a running total, kind of get a good idea, and then compare that to what our last bid was for tub grinding and see, is this good for us or can we do much better a different way? Now that's just for collecting, the normal stuff within a year. We also have a bunch of brush that we collected over 2020 that's over at the Floral Hill site yet that we got to get rid of. So one-time cost for that, there'd be addition because we have more brush because we'll have 2 years worth for the most part. For an additional $6,000, we can take all that brush that's over by Floral Hill, take it over there, drop it off, and walk away, and they take care of it from there. So the first year would be the $12,000 plus the $6,000. If we continue, it would be about that $12,000 a year for brush removal.
Makes sense.
So our other options we looked at, I mean, we could haul it away farther, but I mean, that's going to cost us in transportation costs and labor. I mean, there's Seymour, there's a place you can go to or anywhere else. This is so close for us to take it to. Otherwise, the other plan B would be getting our own grinder, which that's a lot of money. Why would we want our own grinder for a full year?
Yeah, 2 guys are on it.
And guys are on it, the labor to do that. So I guess at this point in time, I'm going to recommend that we try this contract for a year, see how it goes, document what we take over there, and then evaluate for next year.
We don't need a motion on that now, do we?
Yep, this would be approving this contract with Dtac. So you're going to recommend this to council for consideration.
We'll need a motion.
I'll move it. We approve that
Did we
contract.
check with any other brush haulers as to price wise?
Like I said, there's other haulers out there for dropping off with them. That's like in Seymour. So we
Oh,
would have
okay.
we'd have to go all the way to Seymour to drop off.
Okay,
Are we out of it? Sorry.
Yeah, there's other places we probably could, but there's a lot farther away.
okay.
Second motion. Fred made motion made and seconded to review an agreement with Dtac for brush disposal. Any other questions? Is there any of that brush left over from the big storm?
That has been all ground up and disposed of already.
So that's not part of it.
No,
Correct. This
no,
is,
it's done.
that was 2019
Yeah, a long time ago.
collection. So what we have at Floral Hill right now is like 2020, plus whatever we're collecting this year for 2021. So all the 2019 storm, and we got a grant through the DNR to help pay for that tub grinding because it was a catastrophic storm grant.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimous. Director's report?
I will point out that our mechanic, Tim O'Brien, completed his first year of service with the city on March 30th. So we're glad he has stuck around. He's been a great asset. I think Luke will nod his head back there that been a great addition to the city. So we congratulate Tim on his first year. The new plow truck has been delivered. However, the plows are still on order, so they'll get those installed as is. As most of you know, the ATV, UTV regulation went in effect as of April 1st. So you guys probably noticed some ATVs, UTVs going around. I haven't heard of any issues. Chief didn't say that he had any issues yet. So hopefully that's good news that we didn't hear anything.
Has everybody seen a lot of them? Because I saw my first one today.
I saw it.
I've seen them around. I've
Oh,
seen it.
They're using it.
Yeah, I haven't seen them all weekend. I was kind of surprised. I heard a lot of people talking about them, but I didn't see any
They're here and there, depending on where you're at.
on my street, so.
Great. And the last thing is, Luke had a really good start with crack filling. However, our router broke down, so he's researching on trying to get our engine either replaced or fixed. So we're kind of working on that. But Luke and the crew has been doing a really good job this year compared to a couple years past of jumping on getting things going for the season. Not only here, but getting docks out right away and a bunch of other stuff. So kudos. I thought I'd give you a big thumbs up since you're back there tonight. So, and that's it.
All right, does anybody have items to go on next month or a future agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second. Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimous.
All right. For those of the people online, YouTube and Zoom, give us 1 minute. We're going to go get ready and move into the Parks and Rec Committee meeting in 1 minute.
Fred is not here back. Show me in a minute.
We'll wait for But
Okay, see it, it's 5:27. I'll call the Park and Rec meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda?
no,
Look for approval. Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Anything for public input on anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. Discuss the sculptures, arts in the park.
yep. So tonight we have Tony Hendrickson with us. Did Season come tonight? Season? Not come? Okay. So Season and Tony, we met with the mayor, Ginger and I met with Tony and Season last week. And Tony's got some ideas for art in the park. So more so sculpture type art. So we talked about some different ideas. And Tony, why don't you come up, find a spot next to a microphone so we can get you on the mic. Good evening. And I will queue up some of these pictures here. So I'll kind of lead off the discussion. So again, Tony was interested in some, we'll call it sculpture art in the parks. Has some ideas with that. She sent me a bunch of pictures, but we talked about, putting some stuff along the riverfront, along the trails for when people walk. Ended up that we talked about the site over by River Trail Park. There's that large concrete pad that's existing there right now. Thought that might be an interesting area to put some sculpture art there for people to put there. Yeah, so I don't know. I can bring up the pictures that you sent and you can kind of.
I wrote a script.
Go for it then.
Chairperson and honorable members of the council, my name is Tony Hendrickson. I reside at E7758 Allen Road, and I have not spoken to a room full of people since comm class, so I'm a little nervous. I'm a new member of the Wolf River Art League, and one of my favorite mediums to work in is incongruous found objects and the third dimension, sculpture that is. I like to put weird stuff together to satisfy the juxtaposition and absurdity that the real world presents us with every day. When I explained this to Season, she was delighted because with my help, the Art League could begin branching out into the third dimension and try something new for everyone. After much consideration, I finally decided what I would like to see and continue for us, the community. I'm an assistant rural carrier for the New London Post Office. I drive around all over the city limits and deliver Amazon and priority mail pieces on Sundays and more during the holidays. I genuinely love it, and it's given me a deep appreciation for this town and its beauty. One thing I don't love, though, is all the trash littering almost every street and back road. Mattresses, beer bottles, televisions. I've actually watched people toss garbage out of the window of their car right on Shawano Street. I'm well aware that there are different groups that go out and pick up along the highways. My girls love going because they get to spend the day treasure hunting and with grandma. And during the summer, my kids and I compete with each other for ice cream to see who can get the most full bag of garbage from wherever we chose to go that day. The sad point I'm trying to make here is that short of following those trashy culprits around with a baggie waiting to pick up after them like animals, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot we can do about this situation. Or is there? A friend and I had been researching different methods of prop building because we wanted to throw a giant sweets themed party on her birthday for our kids and their friends. And then this opportunity fell into my lap. I think you know where I'm going with this, so I'll get down to the brass tacks. I would like to propose collecting and building something whimsical out of all of this refuse. Call it lipstick on a hog, but I call it a statement. Call it glitter on a trash can, but I call it art. When I think about the opposite of trash, I think of bright colors, shiny and pleasing to the eye. I think of candy, sweets, happy indulgences, fantastical sculptures reaching towards the sky in a display of wonder, invoking the curiosity of Dr. Evermore's Forevertron or Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. We could use things collected from the ditches and things pulled out of our very own slice of the Wolf River and display it proudly for all to see the resilience in which our community can rise out of something otherwise unpleasant. Families could sit around it and picnic. Kids could congregate there. Events could be held there. It could even be a rotating exhibit where we would change the sculptures out seasonally. We would likely never run out of materials either because they never stop making trash. A colorful monument to recycling somewhere prominent for all to see would be something new and exciting for citizens to converse about, while conveniently placing the spotlight back on their own trashy habits, whether they're aware of it or not. Thank you for your patience and consideration in this subject. I also brought my sketchbook with ideas that I had just kind of came out of me to pass around and show as an example.
Did you have some on the screen?
Oh,
Did you put
yes,
them up on
and
the screen?
photos as well.
Okay, so these are the photos that Tonya sent me. So we'll just kind of put them up there, and I guess
That's Dr. Evermore.
I guess you'll have to narrate because I don't know.
He is I believe he passed away, but he was a man that lived down by Spring Green, which is where the house on the rock is. And he built the Forevertron, which is just an enormous art sculpture out of trash. But people come from all over the country just to go there and see it. And I've not seen it yet because when I tried to go, it was too late in the day and it was closed. But it's definitely something that I would like to see, especially now, given that this is what I would like to go for with
I
this.
got one question for you. Where, did you have sites picked out for stuff? Or?
I didn't really. When we had met last week, we were talking about just anywhere we could, but then they had brought up the concrete pad across the river from Dairy Queen. But I'll take what I can get.
Okay.
There was kind of a lot of discussion that went into that as far as where to put it, that wouldn't get vandalized. We could watch it, they could secure it. And that was one of the points that was brought up, is that concrete pad that's just across.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I see. That's where you were talking about having the concert there, over there at one time. So yeah, I know what you're talking.
And a lot of the photos that I sent him were just mostly references of ideas that we could do, things that we could build, just ideas, because like we wouldn't necessarily know exactly what we're building until we have the trash. And they don't clean out the river until I believe it was July.
Oh, yeah.
So there were just ideas that I found on Pinterest of large food shaped things that you could make out of that. That's my personal favorite. I think it's really neat. I guess I just feel like if the community were to see something like that, anywhere really, it would force a lot of conversation, a lot of thought, which is what art is supposed to do anyway. And I thought it would be a really neat thing for kids to go see, kids to go with their parents and spend time with, their parents and other kids. I don't know. I just really
You're
think
gonna go
that
with
it
the
would.
donut theme, then you should just put down here by the police station.
Is food a common theme? Like, is that what you're
It wouldn't
planning on
have
doing?
to be. That was just the first thing that popped into my head because I was already trying to do this other project.
Okay.
And then this, and I'm like, okay, we could recycle trash. What are we gonna build? What's the opposite of trash? How can we make trash look appealing? And like that could be like a selfie wall that we could put up and kids could, take their pictures in front of it or whatever. Like I ran with the food theme because candy is like the only thing that's an unlimited supply of colorful and fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know how well like river trash and things like that would translate. So that's why I have the other ideas too. Like if there's tons of plastic that they pull out of the river, we could, there's one of, we could build like steel shapes, animal shapes or anything shapes, and then put the plastic inside it so that it wouldn't be able to blow away. And like, I really think it would be great to, give the people something like that to look at and be like, wow, where did all this come from? We could, put an explanation by it or even make up an origin story so the kids would, think that was neat or something.
I'll piggyback on what she said about the different types of art, but I showed some of these in-house, to staff in-house, and the feedback I got was maybe leaning towards more nature-based type thing, because the parks, the river type thing. So I think a good consideration could be to kind of look at the nature-based end of it as well, for a thought process, just because New London, river, fish,
Birds, dogs.
that whole thing. Yep. So just a thought. I mean, and the feedback that I got, from people that I showed it to.
Yeah, I was just brainstorming on what was colorful, but birds are certainly colorful too, and fish. And that's another sculpture at Dr. Evermore's.
Well, you brought up too that kind of get your envision once the collection process starts. That's when the envision will start of the art.
Yeah, that's the fun part for me.
If say we would agree to someone, put some of the stuff out there and we get a lot of negative feedback on it, is it possible that you could remove it? I mean, I know they've had issues like with the gas cans down in Appleton. They took the propane cans and made that statue there by the Lawrence, and they got a lot of negative feedback on it. I don't know what's happened with that so far, but it's still there or not. They were talking about.
I think it is.
It's still there.
It is.
I guess I would hope that they would put that to a fair vote before they would decide to take it away.
I'm just bringing up the scenario that if we do put something out there like that, they're going to say, what do you guys put that there for?
And she also discussed some seasonal items like changing it out.
Right.
So it wouldn't be up there permanent or a long period of time too, as possibilities.
Yeah. I guess I would almost expect it to have some naysayers, some negative.
Sure, you're right.
Because that's the message.
Yeah, you can make everybody happy.
It's like, well, we got this one off of, the road over there, or this one came off of such and such street. Like, we wouldn't go that far, but maybe people would recognize their own garbage. And
I like the way you brought up about the history, writing up of a little bit of where it came from.
Yeah.
Great with those storks or whatever they are.
I don't know if I could go that large, but if we had the pieces, I would definitely try.
I think it's something you start small with, and like you said, seasonal.
Yeah.
I like that idea of switching them out.
Go big or go home, Dave.
No. That's what they did in Appleton, and I got to tell you, them gas cans are something.
Yeah, they got a lot of negative feedback. I know that. They kind of did it on their own, more like they got a lot of,
it wasn't
voted on.
I don't agree with the go big or go home.
I
Because otherwise we are going to have something really big down there.
This is a discussion item anyway, so I'm thinking, it's something that the committee is interested in, and the community probably also. So maybe we could get some more feedback from some other people, and maybe you kind of narrow down something that you think would look in an area, and then we can kind of go from there. I don't know, how does everybody else feel about that?
You have to kind of get your ball rolling though, and collaborate with the cleanup, correct?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
When did you say that was?
The Wolf River cleanup is in July.
I wrote it down. I think it was end of July.
We'll have another meeting before that.
Yeah, the river cleanup is July. What is it?
Saturday.
In July, yeah.
So if we make a decision by the next meeting, you'll have plenty of time.
Sure. Kind of refine it down a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Because we do get some interesting stuff from the river cleanup. That's Chad, safe, bed springs, you don't know what you're going to find.
And that was my hope too, is once people found out, I guess, about it or learned of what we're doing, maybe people would then have interesting stuff for us too, or offer to help stick things together, or,
Sure.
I'm not holding my breath, but it would be nice.
So I guess right now is the point of bringing it to the committee is before she would put a lot of time and effort and thought into this, what do you guys think? Is there any direction that you guys want to give her? Is there something you want to stay away from? I mean, we talked about the propane head type thing, steer her in the right direction now. Otherwise, we don't want it to come back and, oh, we weren't thinking that. And she put all this time and effort into it. So
I would just say not big, not something big and huge, And I really like the seasonal ideal. I do like the idea of changing it out. I think that would be ideal, is to be able to change it out with the different seasons. it'd be nice, something different.
Oh,
Not seeing
and we
the
have-
same thing. I mean, the propane things, they're gonna be looking at them for, it's the same thing. And I actually think if you're gonna do a write-up on it of like, if you collect all the trash out of the river and you're gonna do a write-up like that, this is what we pulled out of the river, please keep our river clean. That loses all its appeal if it just sits there for 10 years. You know what I mean? If you
Because then it's
revive
just
it
trash
and
somewhere
change
else.
it, you actually get more interaction with it. You might actually spring something into London, kind of blow up like the art part did, Start small and work our way up. We didn't, the art thing, they didn't come with every single design the first meeting. We didn't say yes to all of them, I think that's the
And we
best route
kind
is
of,
to
we
start
kind of have
small and
something
go.
like that down by the Sturgeon Trail. You got that wooden sturgeon that's down there, and they got Stanley the Sturgeon over there in Shacton. So that's similar to what you're talking about. And that's why I think that nature base, especially along the river, would be a bird or something like that, I think would be great.
Yep. And I like the idea of trying this on a trial basis, just so we're not in that,
Right.
Give it a year. And I like the idea of mixing it up if it's really successful, because then it mixes it up. It's something new all the time.
And all the paintings around on the buildings and stuff, look how that's exploding. So, I mean, this could be doing the same thing. It's just maybe starting out something small and working from there. That's my feeling. Anybody else got any comments about it? You're on the younger side there. You must have some ideas.
Right on the
I'm
spot.
thinking from the old side.
No pressure.
Well, I've just seen a lot of people that I know taking photos with all the art around town. And I just, you mentioned something about like selfie board or whatever. And I know so many people that would be down to that. And I feel like that would just draw a lot of attention from us if you gave like photo opportunities, because I know that a lot of people ask me, oh, is there a cool place you can take a picture at in New London? And like, just maybe doing that would be cool. And the seasonal thing, I really think that's cool, because if you keep changing it, people will be like, oh, something's different. I can take another picture. Yeah, exactly. Just more attention.
Like you talk about pictures. We had a farm down there, and there was an old big junky tractor in the yard, and I couldn't believe how many kids wanted to come down there for a graduation picture on this old junky tractor. So, it's arts to the eye of the beholder, so not everybody thinks everything is beautiful. I think we're, leave it up to discussion. We can keep tweaking on it till we get something.
So would it be, I like the idea of trying it one time, seeing how it goes, see how the community reacts to it. I'm just trying to think of how, can we have you kind of find out what we have and then bring back, here's the things I'm thinking of, and just make sure these guys are all okay with, with the ideas of the sculptures. Because I think especially starting this off would be, let's take baby steps. Let's communicate a lot. Let's make sure everybody's on the same page. And it's hard for you to say what it's going to be right now. I understand that.
Yesterday I had to help replace a radiator and fans in a Ford Taurus. And those fans, when you pull them apart, which is really fun, I recommend it to everybody. They spin, but they're almost flower shaped. And then the center is really beautiful too. And I was like, wow, this would be really great flowers to put for the sculpture. And like, of course I brought them home because I could use them maybe. So like I could build something out of those and bring it back for the next meeting.
Sure.
That would be quite small, like,
And one thing that we talked about in our pre-meeting was that maybe interactive art. But after thinking about it more, I want to make sure the interactive art is not something that you can climb on.
Right.
Just for the fact that there's so many playground regulations that are out there. And if it's interactive, like those tires, I don't want kids to go on the tires when it's not designed as a playground. And then all of a sudden we have a liability issue with that, So let's just make sure that as you're thinking about this, it's interactive to walk up through, and selfies interactive, but not to be on. I think that's important to make sure that whatever the design happens to be with that.
Anybody else got anything else?
Is it going to be a singular sculpture or just like multiple kind of smaller ones?
Well, we can start small, but I thought it would be neat if eventually we got to where there would be that. I had thought originally for having a grassy area and having it be like a kind of a garden, or like the Willy Wonka movie, where they could walk through and observe these things. But then the idea of the maintenance on it and mowing and weed whacking around all of the stuff, it didn't go very far from there because, you know, I'm not going to do it. So then that was when we were talking about the concrete slab, because then there's virtually no maintenance. But eventually, yeah, I think that would be really great. Something like that where you could just walk around and get lost in it. That isn't the cemetery. Like, I don't know. That's basically
Anybody else
what I
got
was
anything?
thinking.
Does that give you enough ammunition to?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think we just stay in the loop, and then once we have some really concrete ideas of what you're thinking, maybe we just bring it back real quick. And I don't know if you can do sketches or something that you can kind of, visuals are really nice, you know, for the committee.
Okay.
To say the yea or nay.
Thank you very much.
Should we plan on her coming?
Did a good job for being nervous.
If she's ready to go. I mean, I don't know if she needs the garbage first, you know, whenever the time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so.
Go ahead.
Well, I live on
Tanya,
a
whenever you're
farm,
ready,
too, so I
we'll.
don't have any lack of garbage to mess with.
So would you have something for next month's meeting that you could?
Sure.
Okay.
It gives me something to do.
Hey,
So then
thank
we'll
you.
see.
Thank
We'll
you
have her
very
on
much.
next again.
Yep. Yeah, if you're ready next month, we'll just bring it back and we'll communicate before the next meeting.
Okay.
Kind of go from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Chad, looks like we're at number 4.
Yep. So
Yeah.
as I believe you guys all knew, we're in the process of, we did bid out for roof replacements at the police department, and then areas 1, 2, and 3 at the municipal building. Areas 1, 2, and 3 are the roof above the council chambers, roof above the office areas, and then the roofs up to the new section of the fire department bays. You know, there's the new fire department bays, the last 2 bays are the new ones. Those were replaced already, so we're gonna go up to there. So we've got in your packet was the bid specification or bid tab, and also recommendation letters from IRS Industrial Roofing Services. They're our consultant on the project. And the bids came in very good for both the municipal building and city hall roof replacement project. Just a reminder, as you guys know, we were also going to do the library project, but if you recall, the type of shingles that we want to put up there to match the existing are not in production yet, just with COVID and everything going on. So we're going to wait on that one until we know we can get the right shingles on there. Otherwise, it's going to look like a mess if we put just a standard residential architectural shingle up there as well. So I guess let's start with the City Hall roof replacement project. The low bid was from Weinart Roofing in the amount of $236,800. I believe that's what the consultant said. Yep. So $236,800, and it ranged all the way up to $309,000. So as of this point in time, I'm going to ask the committee to consider recommending to the council that we award the City Hall contract to Weinart Roofing in the amount of $236,800.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to award the contract to Weinert Roofing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, then we'll go to the police department roof. Those ranged from $66,920 to $100,985. The lowest bid for that one out of the 4 we received was for Northeastern Roofing Incorporated. Our consultant has looked at this one as well and felt that was a great bid for that project. So both he and I are recommending that we award the project to Northeastern Roofing in the amount of $666,920.
I look for a motion to award the Northeast West Roofing contract to or for the police department to the Northeast Roofing Contractors Incorporated. All in favor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we've got reviewing your recommendation, replace the docks and install security cameras at Riverside Boat Launch. Chad?
Luke, I'm going to pick on you if you want to come down. Come on down. Luke has done the homework for replacing docks at Riverside Boat Launch. In your packet put a picture together to kind of visualize which docks we were looking at replacing. They would be the ones in yellow. So in the western bay, the eastern dock, and in the middle bay, both docks and the L's. And it does not include anything in the eastern bay because this dock closer to the bait shop has been updated. I don't even know when, before my time, but it's more of a modern, aluminum type dock. So Luke did all the research on that, and we also have been talking about adding a kayak accessible launch over here. I was going to bring a picture of that up here quick. It's Easy Dock, right?
EZ, the letters E and Z.
Dock. So the kayak system we're looking at is something like this. So it's ADA accessible. It has a bench and then a movable bench out that hovers above the kayak. So someone with a mobility challenge can get their kayak in there, bring up their wheelchair to the bench, and then kind of scoot over the top and then slip into the kayak. And then this gray part right here recesses back into the main bench, and then they can travel off and be on their merry way. So this would be a system that we could attach to the eastern dock. I think it'd be a great addition down there at the boat launch. And we would put it in primarily after the walleye run, just because of the boat traffic. We don't, and the time of year, there's not a lot of people in kayaks quite yet, just because of the temperatures. But once the walleye and the white bass season goes down, the boat launch traffic goes down. And that's the time of year that the kayaking starts to increase in popularity, just because of the seasonal temperatures. And that'd be a great time of year to install the kayak launch. So Luke, any other information or thoughts on your homework?
I've went over to Sunset Park in Kimberly, and they have something very similar to this. I love kayaking. It's super easy to use, and Mark can attest to this, or the mayor. It's getting more and more popular. It's a great attraction, and Chad knows this, I've been pushing for this for a while. I think we live in a river city, so why not capitalize on it?
So the costs of it, I did include in the memo. Luke has done research. Each of the docks are in there. They're not cheap. They're commercial docks. They're made to last. They're not a residential type thin dock. You want something that's going to be commercial, just so it's standing up to the wear and tear of the boats that are banging into them all the time. So the cost of each dock is about $30,000 to $35,000, depending on the size of that particular dock. The kayak launch, that setup, is about a little over $32,000. And then also I'm recommending, we need some cameras down there. That's something that we talked about with the new pay station, electronic pay stations. I wouldn't mind getting some cameras down there just to have them on those pay stations, just in case someone thinks they want to break into them or whatever. So this project would include putting a DVR unit in the municipal garage, and then getting the camera feed to the municipal garage and recording over there. With all that, I threw in a contingency amount of $1,000. So we are at a cost of $136,399.65 as our estimate. We have, where did I have that? We have about $138,000, I think I said. Yeah, we have $138,000 in the boat launch fund. So this is what that money is set for. This is the money that comes directly from the boat launch fees. I get asked every once in a while, where does the money from the boat launch go to? It goes into a segregated fund. It has to go in a segregated fund, only used for the boat launch. It does not go in the general fund. It goes in for maintenance and improvements to the boat launch. So we currently have $138,000 built up. This is right within our project budget that we can update the docks, install a kayak launch, add the security cameras down there, and be within that project budget. So, and Luke was going to do some more research just on different vendors. This was with Schmidt Docks, these prices. If Luke finds a different vendor that is cheaper and equal in quality, the project cost will just go down even more. But this is one cost that the budget that we put together is basically for the Schmidt docks. And if, like I said, if Luke finds something better, we'll go with that.
So when I read the estimate, when it first came out, it said something about the prices going up in the future. Is that next year's deal or is that?
This year, if we don't order by April 15th, it's expected to increase by 2 to 3%.
And we're doing real well from what I hear from Michelle on the machines we got now. And John was telling me too, he's had nothing but positive feedback on the new ticket machines. And instead of getting $1 in them, now we get $5 in them. So we've got, I guess, over 2,000, correct?
How are we monitoring whether people are using them or not? I mean, besides
The
the
police
tickets on
department,
there.
the police department.
Oh, they are.
I've observed them 3 or 4 times, and I mentioned it, Doc, I got to tell Jeff, thanks, because that's the only way we can enforce it.
Right. And
they've
I've
been
been
walking.
down there a couple times not watching the things, but just checking out the fishing area and stuff. And this just came to my mind is like, how are we monitoring whether or not they're.
I've watched a couple of police officers get out and they physically walk down looking at all the cars. And I know they rolled out some tickets because I see him with his pad and he was spent a little while up by a couple of them on one end. So I know they're enforcing it. So
Well, that's good.
that's the only way we can make it work. They got to enforce it.
That and my suggestion is here again, do a video, like have Casey do something with it so people are more aware of it. Because I know a lot of people are still coming in and getting change in the morning. Oh, I got to get change for the boat launch. And I just want to say, no, just put your card in.
Yeah.
So Casey did do a video.
Oh, he did. Okay.
I don't know, Ginger, should we play it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. For those of you online, you can go to New London Access and then find our videos library, and then you can see. Oh, I gotta go to Facebook, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. You gotta go to Facebook. Oops, this one. Come on. There it is. All right. So Casey and I talked about it, and within 30 minutes, he had a script song created. And this is.
Let me tell you about an exciting new way to pay to launch your boat. When you launch your boat at Riverside, it's cash or card you can decide. As you can see, it's not that hard. No more paper envelopes, no more cheating, that's our hope, cause now you can pay with cash or card. Check out the new boat launch pay stations at Riverside Park, or pick up your annual boat launch permit at either City Hall or Johnny's. They sure are the catfish's meow.
So, yep, Lori, he was right on that
All
right
right.
away. So,
Gonna be a movie star.
Exactly.
so yes. So we've gotten the word out that way.
Good deal.
So has anybody got anything else? I mean, I'd look for a recommendation to go ahead with spending the money to upgrade the boat launches. Anybody got any other discussions on it? I'd look for a motion and to approve that.
So my motion, what I would recommend is that the committee consider spending up to $137,000 for the identified dock improvements and the security cam improvements at the boat launch.
That sounds good. Looking for a motion?
Second.
Motion made and second to approve it.
137,399.
All in favor?
The budget was 136.
The question, Tom?
I rounded up.
Yeah, how much of this is grant available?
No, this is money that's already been in the boat launch fund from previous years. That's what's accumulated in it. Am I correct?
Correct.
It has to be spent there.
And it's like the wheel tax. The only place it can be spent is at the boat launch.
The wheelback can't be spent there either. I
No,
know that.
that's got to be spent on roads, but I'm comparing it to the wheel tax, Tom.
Okay.
It can only be spent at the boat launch.
Correct. So over the last like 2 years, we've improved with the electronic pay stations, and we're doing these improvements. So if you have any questions, where does that money go? You can tell them that, look at the improvements that have been happening down there.
Yeah, the money that's being spent there by people using it, it's going right back in there to upgrade it.
I guess we had a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
Discuss and consider action or updates on COVID-19 restrictions for public recreational facilities. Chad?
Yeah. Hey, Ginger, if you want to come up with this one, we'll talk. We'll bring you up this side.
Oh, she sounds so excited.
Yeah. If you guys are going to come, I'm going to.
You gonna wear your mask
Bring you into it.
backwards? Huh? Wear your mask backwards, though?
All right. So at the last meeting, we talked about loosening up on the restrictions that we put in place for guidelines for park and rec facilities per COVID. In your packet, I put a copy of the last guidelines we put together, and Ginger and I pretty much hacked it. So looking at everything that we've done and what's going on right now, essentially we're going to make the recommendation at this point in time to remove 99% of the restrictions that we have. And the only things that we would have, we would say that everything's pretty much open for playgrounds, tennis courts, basketball courts, athletic fields, skate park, all that stuff is open. Trails are open. We do, we'll recommend the social distancing guidelines per Department of Health Services and the CDC. We're gonna, providing you guys bless all this, we're going to propose opening all park bathrooms normally in the 2021 season. We're not there yet. Well, the temperatures today would be phenomenal, but we usually get to a point that we know it's not going to be freezing at night anymore, and then we start opening those up. So we're going to open them up normally as we have. Park shelter reservations and the Washington Center meeting rooms open for rentals. And then Ginger, I'll have you kind of point out recreational programs and the considerations for that.
So for most of our programming, we've modified where pretty much everything is going to be outside this year anyway. And from what we've talked about with the masking and things like that, outdoor events are kind of wide open. That way our instructors can have more of a personal experience with the children, and you just don't have to worry about all of that. Indoors, in closed spaces, we're still going to have our instructors wearing the mask. We are going to cut down the number of children enrolled so that there's not 20 little kids running around, but 10 instead. And then for senior programming, numbers will be down again, just so that they can socially distance still. And Aquatic and Fitness Center we're running as the American Red Cross recommends. So we'll be doing lessons, we'll be doing everything as they recommend. So with the lower enrollment numbers and more of the one-on-ones. So.
For swimming lessons.
For swimming lessons.
Talk about open swim and stuff.
Open swim is we're going to reopen. The recommendations are not something that we even hit for numbers down at the pool. So we're just going to open it. We were going to have a limit of 50, but we rarely get 50 at a time down there. So we're just going to open it. The only thing at the pool that we're concerned about is the sauna. And as you can imagine, a sauna is a breeding ground for viruses anyway and bacteria. So we're going to keep the sauna closed. Hot tub will be open because it's perfectly well chlorinated and safe. So anything else?
Yeah, the sauna is just a challenge for constant cleaning, disinfection. The wood.
It's all wood, and you can't. If we were to treat it, the chemicals that we would use to treat it would just deteriorate the wood. So we just put in new saunas, so we don't want to really mess with that. So once everything's back to normal and somebody rings that magical bell that says that this has all gone away, then we can open back up those saunas.
So then there won't be no more signups for open
Right,
swim and stuff?
yep,
Perfect.
we'll go, we'll do away with the signups per swim, and the weight room, so that's good.
Anybody got any questions? So we want to have an action to update the code, that's going to be it?
Yep, yep.
Okay, so I look for a motion to consider action on updating of the COVID-19 restrictions for public recreational facilities.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ginger.
Mhm.
Mr. Dorsey, is this yours? Chad?
I can kick it
can.
off. I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Chad, you can, I don't care.
I was, so we talked about the other day that the last couple of days about some comments that we've had about restricting smoking in public parks. So last week we talked about putting it on the agenda just to kind of get a general discussion to see what the committee felt about that. There's going to be opinions all across the board on this one, and there's going to be options all across the board on this one as well. So I know there's some municipalities that strictly outlaw smoking in public parks, period. There's other ones that have, and it's all across the board where, you know, some of them have it that you can't smoke within so many feet of a playground and so many feet of public events and stuff like that. I know I've heard the comments about after baseball games of all the cigarette butts underneath the bleachers that people have to clean up and pick up, and it's just a pain in the butt. No pun intended. So we just want to kind of throw it out there and see what you guys thought. I mean, like I said, this can go anywhere from restricting it 100% to saying, you know, we're only going to have, we're going to restrict smoking when there's special events, you know, public events, that you're in proximity to that. And, you know, you could set up designated smoking areas during those public events.
What was the one within so many feet of the playground or kids playing?
Yep, I've heard that too, that you can't smoke within so many feet of playgrounds, you know, just to keep it away from the kids.
The only issue I have with that, without having designated smoking areas, I'm still somewhere after one of these tournaments picking up cigarette butts. Now I'm just 25 feet away from the kids instead of right behind them.
Correct.
So we're going to allow our kids, or allow, not our kids, hopefully, but allow the parents and spectators to consume alcohol watching a sporting event, but you can't smoke cigarettes. That kind of does not sounds like a
I
conflict.
said the same thing
Yeah.
when I heard it,
That's-
but going on with what you're saying, the smoking affects everybody, you know. I definitely like the idea of restricting to an area or something like that.
I can definitely go with, I mean, I can definitely see not allowing people to smoke in the bleachers. That should be taken away.
When I brought this up, my original thought was to have a smoking area. And I'm not talking like, you know, out in the back 40, but a smoking area where we could put up the big stand-up ashtrays. You know, something, if you never cleaned a park after a tournament, it's, Brad Alschultz and I would spend 4 hours down there on a Monday because I work third shift at the time. 4 hours down there just picking stuff up and still get a call that we missed something.
I think most generally people are considerate about others. This is just kind of regrouping the ones that aren't considerate.
Correct.
Not restricting it as far as taking it away, but saying, here, come over here. And I like the idea about maybe just during public events.
Luke, where other areas do we have problems with cigarette butts? I hear it from the guys every once in a while.
Honestly, they're at every ball diamond that we have. Franklin Park is huge. I mean, you go over there and there's, I mean, not to be all negative, but there's needles, there's a lot of cigarette butts, there's just a lot of trash. Franklin is the worst one out of all parks.
Not to be judgmental or anything, but considering the property across the street from the Franklin Park, that's kind of your issue there too. I mean, that's something that I think is causing a lot of the problem.
They have a smoking area in back of there.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a little shed that's
Yeah, I know.
enclosed and stuff.
I've seen a couple people in there once in a while.
Yeah, I walk by there quite often. There's normally 4 or 5 people in
Oh,
there having
really?
a cigarette, yeah.
But I think a lot of them, especially in the, when it's
I'm
nice
sure,
out,
sure, nice out, they walk across the street,
walk,
I'm sure.
walk across the street.
Dave, what would be your recommendation on that? What is your thoughts?
I would like the smoking sections. Personally, I wouldn't want to outlaw it altogether.
As far as 100% or like during
Special events and stuff. I mean, I'm not opposed to people smoking. I used to smoke. I mean, that's not it. It's just around kids and
It's around kids and then cleaning
the
up
cleanup.
the ones.
The biggest, for me, honestly, the biggest one is the cleanup, because the city does a lot for us for baseball and softball, and we got to do our best to clean them. And then you're going to be getting them new bleachers down there. You can't get underneath the ones at Memorial. So what's under there is under there until you move them.
Do we want to make take action on this tonight, or do we want to look at it
Nope.
for next month or something? Get a
We
little
would
more-
have to make this for next month because I would have to create an ordinance change for this. So based on your feedback, I'd have to create an ordinance and then we'd have to bring it back
Okay,
next
so
month.
we should make a decision on what we want on the ordinance.
Yep. Because then we could send it to the May council meeting, and you guys could do it in one reading. So for the tournaments, it'd be in effect.
We'll miss one, but that's all right.
Yep.
Just get her.
If you want, I mean, you could do it in one reading.
Mike,
I just want to know how you're going to enforce this. We have an ordinance that you can't have dogs down to the ballpark, but they're there all the time.
All we got to do is call.
That don't work. I've seen a police officer enforce it once, and I've been down there for 5 years watching softball games. And part of the problem is our people in town, and I'll skip where they might be working, are some of the biggest offenders in bringing their animals down there.
And that's a good point, Mike. Before we actually make this ordinance, we should bring Chief into this conversation just for the enforcement side of it, in case there's something he thinks that would be good or bad based on the enforcement side of it. So I think that's actually a very good point.
Luke, do you have any input on the effects of, do we designate a smoking area 100% of the time compared to just at special events? Do you see a difference in that?
You're gonna get the naysayers no matter what you do. We all know that. I guess my biggest concern is, even though there is going to be the taller ashtrays, I guess you could call them, there is a huge risk for fire.
Yeah.
A designated area is gonna make it easier on Dave and the ball clubs, and it's gonna make it easier on us as far as cleanup goes. But I mean, as far as concerns, that's the only one is the fire hazard that it's gonna cause, and the naysayers, of course.
Do you lean one way or the other on the
I think the public events, I think it's a great idea. It's a good start instead of just, cutting the head off the snake, so to speak, right away with everything. But I think at special public events, I think it's a great idea. And that's coming from a former smoker myself.
and they did it in taverns and restaurants.
And
you
I
have,
just made that point, and they all got used to it.
yeah, I mean, nobody's going to be happy with it, but people get used to it. So
It gives, even with the enforcement side of it, it does give the boards of baseball and softball something to tell the parents, at least. Even if they don't come, even if the police don't come and start writing out tickets right away, at least we have some backbone in it saying, look, the city did this, they gave you a smoking section, please use it. It gives us something. Right now, we have nothing, because there's nothing that says they can't light up wherever they want.
Like you said, it doesn't have to be that far away.
No,
It doesn't have to be in the back
no.
40 of a park, it can be nearby, but
Like down by Memorial, you could have it over by the shed there, where they could still see the field. You could have one on that side of the shed, one on the third base dugout or third base side of the south field. You can have more than one per park. You can have them, on the back side of all of Pfeiffer's diamonds. You can put us on the back side. They'll still be able to see the game. I mean, I can't fathom not being able to go an hour without having one.
So if we'd have an ordinance would say no smoking at special events except in designated areas, unless the chief would have something else to, does that sound like a reasonable?
We'll talk to Chief tomorrow about this on, in our staff meeting, just see what he thinks, if he's got any comments, but we would have to create an ordinance. So they got teeth behind it. Otherwise, they won't have any teeth.
Do we need a proposal for that, or do we wait?
No, I mean, you're not really voting on the ordinance right now, so you've directed me to kind of.
Go to council then.
You've directed me to kind of create the ordinance.
Okay.
And then we'll actually bring the ordinance back next month for you to vote on. Okay. So
And then that'll go to council.
then that'll go to council.
Anybody have any other ideas or any ideas? I'll single you out. You gotta start talking a little bit. That's right. So I guess we'll leave it at that then, huh?
Yep.
Okay. I'll have to read off your board. My tablet went dead on me.
What's that?
I say my tablet went dead on me. So we got to recommend to council an Arbor Day resolution. That's the mayor's deal, huh?
That'll be the mayor's deal. So this will be Mayor Mark's first Arbor Day resolution.
Yeah.
I know the previous mayor always was, all these resolutions that came through had fun reading them off, but.
You did the tree time last time, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tree Arbor.
No.
Tree City?
Yep, Tree City. Yep.
That's a good one.
So basically, you guys are just recommending to go to council, and then the mayor will read off is it a resolution or proclamation?
This looks like a
Proclamation, actually.
proclamation,
Yeah, not a
A
resolution.
small one.
Yeah, that's a short one.
Yeah, real short.
Some
So-
big words though.
So actually, you're going to make a recommendation for the proclamation.
Okay, so we make a recommendation for the council, or for us to approve a recommendation to the council for Arbor Day resolution,
Proclamation.
proclamation. Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been made in second to the Arbor Day proclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There you go, Mayor.
Thank you.
The director's report.
Yeah, I don't have too much exciting, I don't think, in my report. There were no years of service. It's just busy. I mean, Michelle can attest to softball and baseball practices, and Dave's been spending a lot of time with Michelle, I think, with scheduling games and practices. So that's rocking. Boat launch is in full swing. I was going to bring up the video at this point in the meeting, but I'm glad we kind of talked about Casey's video with the boat launch prior. And he continues to get the word out about things. And yeah, the crews were, like I said before, Luke and the crews got right on Johnny on the spot this year for getting the St. John's docks out right away for the walleye run. So I give them credit for that, because I think this is the first year we actually had it out for the walleye run, which is awesome. So the other ones, we have to wait till the water goes down enough to get to the attachment points at Burning River Riverwalk, but we got the big one in. And then all the main
They're really
docks.
catching fish off that one too.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
So other than that, I don't have anything else to report on.
Chairman's report. Nothing. Committee members report. Anybody got anything? Future
Worked mine
agenda?
in earlier, so.
What's that?
I said I worked my stuff in there earlier with
Okay.
the boat launch stuff.
Future agenda items.
We'll bring back the smoking thing, sculptures, sculpture art in parks, and whatever else comes up.
Hadn't heard anything about the paintings
About paintings, about
in the buildings.
the murals.
Yeah, murals.
Haven't heard anything yet.
Okay. Discuss the next meeting date.
Next meeting date should be, let me bring up the calendar quick. Should be May 4th.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.